Hello, my name is Arno Rosemarin. I'm Senior Research Fellow at the Stockholm Environment Institute. My task is to explain the difference between composting toilets and dry toilets. So this is my testimonial to the Vermont Legislature. The date today is March 20th, 2015. First, I'd like to describe a little bit about what we would call small compost toilets, where we mix urine and feces. These do tend to be problematic, and I can say that there are better solutions. I think that's the experience thus far, not just in Sweden but elsewhere. Mixing urine and feces in a small fixed container kept indoors that can leak or overflow. For example, if there's a lot of people, they may be drinking lots of liquids, and it becomes a problem of too much urine in the system. Ammonia will quickly develop when the urine mixes with the feces, and even if the toilet has a good fan on it and ventilates properly, the obnoxious odor that's coming from this will engulf the living area. This is not composting, this is just mixing and creating odor. So it's wrong to call this a composting toilet. Emptying these toilets is not easy. So after some years, the caustic urine will rust metal parts, metal components. And trying to get everything out from this shelf at the bottom, for example, makes it rather cumbersome. In Sweden, these were popular 30 and 40 years back. They are pretty well phased out now. There is one model left, but it's sort of phasing out itself. There are, of course, successful compost toilets, but these are much more sophisticated. They have true composts in the understory below. The systems are large. Basically, you're building up an ecosystem, a soil-based ecosystem with insects and worms and soil. There's an aeration system. There's a drainage system. So they have to be put in the understory basement, if you like. They also require additions of carbon-rich materials. It's not just enough with the feces and urine. So to really get good, sweet-smelling composts, you have to add things like food wastes and humus and soil materials for these composts to actually thrive. And when running properly, they don't produce the obnoxious odor of those little ones that we had in the first slide. They produce a small amount of liquid that's odorless, completely odorless, the liquid coming out, and it consists of dissolved humus and nitrate. The phosphate's locked in the mass, in the above mass here, where the particulate section, and in the final sort of digested compost. These are actually quite popular in some installations when they are existing. They're in North America. They're in some sports facilities. They work very well because they're, if you like, industrial. They're well planned, organized, maintained, good ventilation. You don't have the problem of user challenges like diverting urine and things like that. So they work just like normal toilets. The only difference is there's no flushing. So that's what I would call the compost toilet that works. A little bit about what the challenges are. What we're talking about here is the volume of urine and feces that humans produce. And most people are actually rather ignorant about this. The average adult produces about 50 litres of feces per year, and about 10 times that in urine, 500 litres of urine per year. And dry toilets, as well as compost toilets for that matter, they're designed around this fact. So there's all sorts of options when you don't have flush water. The emphasis is really to ensure good management of the larger volume product, and that's the urine. And the feces becomes more or less a solid waste, and there are options depending on what you're doing. It can be composting, but it also can be incineration, it can be drying. Lime can be added if necessary, wood ash, different ways of increasing pH. The purpose of all this is then to close the loop on excreta from humans, so that it doesn't get into receiving bodies, like water bodies, and that it stays with the soil system, which is where it was originally designed for. So you get the options of recycling the soil and making it available to crops or garden plants of different kinds. A little bit on the urine diverting dry toilet then, so-called UDDT. Rather popular. It certainly has outcompeted the small composting toilet, the first one I showed. Successful odor-free dry toilets, they require urine diversion. And so the urine is not mixed with the feces. It's also stored in a sealed separate container. And it's tanked, or a tank. It's piped away from the toilet. Feces is collected without being wetted by the urine. So you can see here this diagram here of this design. The urine container is usually much larger than this. It can be a large tank. It all depends on what the needs are for the family, whatever. They can be taking this out weekly and carrying it, or they can have a larger urine tank, and it would be evacuated using a truck. And here we have the dry feces here, and it's ventilated outside. So there are millions of these sorts of toilets. They're kind of rather ingenious. They're intelligent. They work. They're easy to maintain with a small amount of effort. There's squatting pans. There's pedestals. This one here you can see is a plastic pedestal. It's got a small fan here. It evacuates all the air in here out. Something about urine pipes. Okay, most plumbers will insist that any pipe containing waste liquid would require water seal, some kind of water lock, in order to prevent odors from entering the washroom. But for neat or undiluted urine, this is not practical, since standing urine will crystallize and eventually block the pipe. And here's a picture of a drain pipe which has been blocked with struvite crystal. It's quite common actually to see this in sewer treatment plants. So the advice then is not to put in water locks or water seals of any kind, and to deliver the fresh urine from the person all the way down to the storage tank. Following here, you can see there's no lock at all. And the mouth of the urine pipe is submerged at all times to prevent any chimney effect of any odor coming back. So the pipe is empty and emptied and then sealed here. And this is actually the model of a dry urine diverting toilet in the Cape Cod Eco Toilet Centre. And here you can see a bin here, a wheelie bin, that's collecting the dry feces. And there's an evacuation of air that's going up to the outside. What then for these systems are the possible sources of odor? Because odor makes or breaks these kinds of toilet systems, these sanitation systems. Without odor, people find them good. If they produce a lot of odor, people complain. Well, the first one is improper ventilation. When you have a toilet that has its own fan, you can't interfere with that air pressure system by putting in, for example, a strong kitchen ventilator that will change the air pressure in the house or in the apartment. So those ventilators in the kitchen should not be evacuating air, they should be pumping the air back in to retain the pressure. The only true evacuation should be from the toilet system itself. And then you get, with a small fan, doesn't create noise or take much energy, you're actually evacuating. The other one is cleaning of the toilet from splashed urine. Men stand, they tend to stand, and that urine goes either on the floor, on the toilet, different places that are not well ventilated, and you get smells. Of course, people will be overly critical when they bring in one of these toilets and it smells at all. There'll be negative reactions. Ideally, you want to manage urine more effectively by putting in urinals. Here we have two dry urinal type systems. This one here with the blue valve, it opens when the urine comes down and then it closes when, so you don't get any chimney effect, any ventilation. This one's got an oil seal on it. The urine goes through the oil and then up and down into the pipe. This is colored blue in this case. So these are two well-established dry urinal type systems. No water added. If there's water added to the feces in the dry part of a toilet, even a composting system for that matter, there will be odor, and that's where evacuation is even more important. So that's about all I wanted to say on this, and that's the last slide. If there's any further questions, please get back to me. Thank you.